How's it going? This is the Pretend Podcast
with Gavin and Craig.
And we're here. This is us, Gavin and Craig, and we got a really good episode. We've been fighting the urge so long to do a Star Wars theme. Oh no, not more Star Wars shit.
There's not enough on the internet.
But
there should be websites dedicated to
it. Exactly. But if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And so what we do around these parts is we try to introduce each other. You know, we're friends. We've been around friends for a long time. We kind of know, but the fun thing about friendships are you gotta like introduce fun things into each other's lives, and it's not all key bowls and weird parties. You know, we're just sitting around and talk about the same old shit all the time. We're two wise, seasoned men in our 40s at this point. You know? So
we are both in our 40s.
I've officially crossed the line, and
right.
And, you know, you can't do that without a little Star Wars love. I think it's inevitable. Right. And we are two dudes that like to occasionally talk Star Wars, but, you know, we don't get super nerdy about it.
No.
But at the same time,
very cool and reserved about our love of Star Wars.
And our love in general. But, like...
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, it's tough with Star Wars stuff. You feel like you get around people, and as soon as you start talking about, like, the fucking data readouts and the digital and the books and shit. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know where the line is. Where does it get nerdy with Star Wars talk?
I think that it's somewhere after, like, dressing up as a Jedi Padawan to go to a Ren fair.
Yeah. Like, not even like a Comic-Con or anything. You're just, like, going out to start shit.
I'm a dyed-in-the-wool, like, diehard Star Wars fan, but I am not the guy who's dressing up like a Jedi and going just places. You know, I just can't do it.
Going to the pizza place just as like, tell me what you want me to order. Do I want pepper? Just tell me if you want pepperoni or not.
Yeah, I can't do that.
That's definitely a nerd level for sure, I would say. And you know, and
that's all right. It's just not me.
Yeah, you know, and clearly we're in the same camp as most nerds as far as
mostly I've spent my life just trying to not be noticed by people, so I'm certainly not growing a braid and putting a fucking robe on.
I mean, we have a podcast and we're talking crazy shit to each other. Well, why not talk Star Wars at some point?
Exactly.
But that's not the official theme of this show. What we do normally is introduce new things to each other and we discuss them back and forth. But we try to pick some themes occasionally, and this episode's theme happens to be Star Wars, so we didn't want to be like, hey, watch fucking Empire Strikes Back.
Right. Hey, have you ever seen this movie called Star Wars?
Clearly.
Oh, man, it's good.
So what we tried to do is grab maybe something that we hadn't seen, you know, or we bounce some ideas back and forth, and, maybe some stuff that isn't as widely known in the fucking nerd or just casual Star Wars community, you know, and by fucking nerd, I mean it in the most endearing way, of course.
Of course.
So
everybody always means it in an endearing way when you start it with the adjective fucking. Totally. Some fucking nerd.
Especially when we're like talking about people ordering pizza just as Jedis.
Right. And we are like multiple beers in,
so
we're unadulterated truth.
So this is episode 365 of the Pretend Podcast. So we figured if there was ever a good time to do a Star Wars episode,
a 1-year celebration,
we made it, man.
That's right. I can't, you know, when we started out, it was just like two idiots watching Commando,
two young boys,
two young bucks.
Do you think we'll ever shave, Craig?
I don't know.
It's weird. I hope we could do a Star Wars episode.
Let's put this all on VHS to save it. Someday there'll be podcasts.
And then we're like, we actually transcribed the VHS initially, and then we decided to reenact it tonight. So actually, all this will be a scripted.
It's all we're not even us.
Podcast, actors, so from when we were 17 years old on VHS. But we dug up some artifacts, and what we like to do is at the top of the episode tell you what you're in for, so you can bail if you want.
You're just like, oh no.
But
No.
what would you come up with Star Wars? What could you possibly come up with Star
What
Wars?
new angles?
What?
If you are a Star Wars fan,
I love these films. What could you tell me, Craig, that I don't know about Star Wars?
There's nothing you could show me.
But
so what I prescribed
sure. Why not?
to you, Gavin. Can't think of a different word. So I prescribed to you the Star Wars from Dark Horse Comics. I think they started publishing it in 2013, and it ended 7 issues later in 2014, maybe?
Sounds about right.
2013, 2014, which is a comic series by Dark Horse that tells the story of the 1974 original draft of the movie Star Wars.
It's 74, really?
Yeah,
Wow,
so as old as
that
me.
makes
Yeah.
so much sense.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's weirdly familiar yet way different. Yeah.
I was totally unaware of this. I'm not a big graphic novel or comic dude, so yeah, this totally slipped past me and is really cool. So I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
What
a
else
lot.
did you unload on this poor?
I asked you
fella?
to watch the most recent, so that was perhaps maybe the earliest iteration of Star Wars we would get to. And I asked you to also watch the most recent version of Star Wars or iteration of Star Wars, The Force Awakens, in reverse on YouTube. And, you know...
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, let's be clear that the listener knows exactly what this link was.
Yeah.
Force Awakens, the most recent official Star Wars movie.
Yes.
Not counting Rogue One.
Right.
In reverse?
Mm-hmm.
As in, like, just the footage is reversed or everything?
Everything is
The
reversed.
whole fucking thing.
Yeah, and it's weird, like, because you can't find it for free online, which is what I was trying to do. And I just stumbled across this, and I just kind of got, like, I was like, well, this is the dumbest thing. Why would I want to watch this backwards? But, like, it really quickly kind of
really
sucked me in.
fascinating.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, I want to watch the whole movie. Like, you know, because, I mean, I think if you're a fan of the movies, you very obviously have watched them many times. Like, at some point, you take the sort of surface story and surface action for granted. You know, it's like...
Here we go.
Yeah, it's like a painting that you love, right? Like, sooner or later, you take the image that painting is supposed to be for granted. And it's like brushstrokes or little weird bits and pieces of it that you love. Sustains your interest over just like a marriage, over time.
Eventually,
And,
you need to see that marriage backwards.
Yes, and so this is like a cool kind of like I'm gonna see things that I would never have noticed before because it is in reverse. I found it to be kind of fascinating.
We'll dive into that for sure. But weird.
And then an online 100 questions Star Wars quiz.
Ooh, that's a lot of questions.
In which we will quiz off.
Cakewalk or not? We'll see. Awesome. So, and then the flip side of that coin is what I could dig up that possibly Craig could not have seen at this point. And I was a little surprised you hadn't seen George Lucas in Love. The
I didn't even know it was a thing. Yeah.
It came in around 99, I think. And just kind of a little one-off student film that's like technically a satire of Shakespeare in Love, I guess, where it just chronicles the whole journey of George Lucas coming up with the idea of Star Wars. And a little cute little quick film.
It works.
8 minutes, I think it is. It's
It
real
is.
short.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, which seems like technically an obvious thing, but like I feel like nobody really talked about them much, but the deleted scenes that are on the Blu-ray of the original Star Wars trilogy. So pretty epic material that's being handled there.
Yeah.
But whether it's epic or not, we'll discuss.
You're gonna hear about it.
And then finally, what else? The quiz.
The greatest
the
pop-up book.
the greatest pop-up book. Yeah.
of all time.
It's a pop-up book. What? Like a children's book? No, this isn't that one from Empire Strikes Back that everybody had, where Luke falls from the Cloud City, and the lightsaber goes up to his hand, and when he's frozen, you all know the one I'm talking about.
That one.
The one that all the tabs ripped off and nothing really happened much. This is a really epic pop-up book.
I mean, it is incredibly elaborate. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, where do we begin? Jesus.
Let's
Dun, 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 dun.
not with the quiz.
No,
Certainly
let's see.
not. So, would you care to start with?
Maybe at the top with that graphic novel, because that's clearly the best shit.
Okay.
There's a lot going on here. I was totally unaware of this. So I'm assuming it was released. You said Dark Horse
Comics,
comics that kind of just put them out in a series of like
there was 8 issues,
maybe
9.
maybe like the digital version you had like a 0 number. It was like bonus tracks of like alternate covers and stuff,
like extra junk.
But anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was like all right, so the 1974, we all know the movie came out in 77, so like he had like maybe the first version of the rough draft of the script that George Lucas came up with. Based on the script? Was it an actual script or just like...
Yes, that's what it says in the sort of material, so...
But the artwork was all done fairly recently based on that, and so it was kind of cool because they were like... certain things that they admitted, like, some of the characters we just had to, like, reference the movies because it was like, how the hell could you not just throw Greedo into a scene and not have him be there or something, or Princess Leia's costume or something. But for the most part, it just seemed like it was based on, like, descriptions that were in the script, but, like, totally fucking different. And to me, like, clearly as a Star Wars fan you have to read it, and it was so awesome. I was like, oh my god, how haven't I not heard of this and read this? And it was a really cool way to do it. It seemed like really reinforced to me like why rewrites are important, because it was way fucking dumber than the movie, but at the same time I still would love to have seen the movie version of this, because it is like completely different, but at the same time so many like common threads in a weird way where you're just like, and you like see where this idea came from and what that idea came from. And I guess just the quick synopsis, obvious spoilers like every episode of our wonderful Pretend podcast. We spoil everything, but so the quick synopsis of this, I mean, every character, I felt like my general takeaway was that every character from original Star Wars is kind of split in almost like 2 or 3 people, and like, or just some weird variation of the character, but there's like just so many characters in this, and cool. And basically it starts out very political, almost like the prequels, where they're like working out the conflicts of like a new empire versus an old empire, which would eventually be like the Republic, I guess, crumbling down. And geez, it's so hard to even battle through. I mean, I guess like the obvious points would be like Luke is an older, like 65-year-old dude, and he
fully trained Jedi.
Yeah, he's like kind of the general of this. Like, they didn't really call him. Did they call him the Rebellion? Eventually, they become the Rebellion.
They
I guess,
rebel, definitely.
Yeah,
but like he was somehow attached to the Empire and rebelled against the Empire or the Emperor.
Maybe it's easier to go through it like in chronological. So it starts out with, it's like old Luke, which I thought was humorous in that he looks like George Lucas.
He does
I don't know if the artist kind of worked that in or what, but he's got like this kind of big poofy like whitish hair and like the beard, and looks like a ripped George Lucas made. And his name is Luke Skywalker, straight up Luke Skywalker. And then he's got a Jedi buddy named
Anakin Starkiller,
who's the son though of
another Cade Starkiller,
who starts it out.
Cade Starkiller.
And he's kind of weird because Cade Starkiller starts it out where he's kind of part robot and shit. You know, he's kind of more of the Darth Vader vein, where he's like kind of falling apart and getting pieces replaced. But he's got these 2 kids. And like one of the kids gets fucking whacked right off the bat.
Because the Sith are hunting down. There are Jedi hunters who are hunting down Jedi.
Yeah, which is kind of in the vein of the story that we all know that unfolds. And and it's weird. And then like Anakin is just that dude's kid, not Luke's father by any means. So all these like weird little common threads like that, and he takes kind of Anakin on as like more of an Obi-Wan role. So Luke's kind of more like
Right.
Obi-Wan really in the original one, and like Han's like a fucking green creature that they just kind of cross paths with, and he just
Like,
turns into this
Weird,
badass swamp creature.
swamp thing mouth. Yeah.
Chewie doesn't come into it till way later, and he's just like this fucking rambly
dummy
nonsense
monkey.
monkey.
Yeah, he doesn't
like really useless, really. Other than actually, I guess they do good in the end. The Wookiees
They
help
become
them
pilots. Yeah.
to help blow up the Death Star, which is. But I guess before we get too convoluted with trying to describe it, it was weird for me to read it and think of what the fuck the common threads were that like made it into the like when you think of Star Wars and what like when somebody sat down to write this, you would think totally like Jedi's lightsabers, this balance of the Force and the fucking restoring balance to the all these like epic things, but really the only things that were like common was like Death Star's round, Uncle Owen is a guy, like all these
He
like,
is a dude.
really
Owen
fucking
Lars in it,
like weird, like Biggs is the name of like one of the little kids, you know,
Yeah.
like these names
Biggs
that
and
just
Wendy.
popped in. I'm like, how is this like like the scenes or like the droids are like fighting with each other. R2 and C-3PO are like, you go that way, I'll go. Like this was clearly something he wanted in the movie.
Yeah.
That lasted from the earliest draft. Like,
R2D2, he talks.
yeah, R2D2 doesn't just beep, he talks. And like, but yeah, I mean, just like so many weird things. I was like, why the fuck did that make it into the final? Like that was something that he just totally cloned. He was like, there's gotta be a fucking scene where they're getting squished by a garbage compactor. It's like that has gotta be in there, like, because everything else is just totally a weird mix. And it's weird too, because you would, maybe I'm totally getting ahead of myself, but like shit that like references to the point where they must have looked at that again for the prequels and stuff.
Oh yeah,
because there's so much like
there are
stuff
like scenes that are directly taken from that sort, like when Princess Leia professes her love for Anakin Starkiller, and that happens between Padme and Anakin Skywalker. Yeah,
and it's so weird.
Directly.
In this one, it's like it's actually Princess Leia and Anakin, who's like a whole different person. He's not like young Darth Vader or anything.
Yeah, it's not. She's not in love with her dad.
No, which
It doesn't get that
would
weird.
only be slightly weirder than, and even in this fucking graphic novel, it doesn't work.
No,
like Leia's like the most convoluted. Like, just clearly shows that George Lucas had no like touch of what a woman thinks. Or,
like
it's
one day
just
I'm gonna fall in love with a real girl.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it's almost a bigger testament to like how amazing Carrie Fisher is. I like reading that. I was like, wow, she had nothing to work with, like, and she made this iconic, awesome character. It was just like look at this, like this comic's so weird. Like Anakin like hits her in the first he's like, shut up, and like just smacks her, and then she's like, I love you, and then
you're like,
and then she's like,
cool.
Yeah, like none of her motives make any sense, and she's not nearly as dynamic as anything that happens in Star Wars, and she's just always kind of schlepping around with these dudes.
Yeah, and I found weird, and maybe it was just me, like from issue to issue, and maybe even between certain pages within issues, there are like weird jumps.
Yeah,
where you can deduce what it is that happened, but
right.
it's not like a typical sort of sequential comic book where the next issue that comes out the next month kind of picks up right there. Like there are points where you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like there were a number of times where I like flipped back. I was like, did I miss a page? No.
Yeah. And just because there were
weird.
so many characters, it was harder. It was definitely more like Game of Thrones. Like, I know you don't really watch that and from it, but it felt more like Game of Thrones. It was just like some other beefcake older dude. Like, I kept mixing up like the Kane, Starkiller, and Luke. I'm like, well, who the fuck, what? And just because I was so familiar with like how there was like 3 people that kind of became one dude in the actual movies, and like especially with Darth Vader and the Sith Lord.
Yeah,
there's like a Sith dude who's like a Sith Knight
named Valorum or something like that.
And he kind of even goes back and forth, especially by the end. Like, but like Darth Vader's just like a dude. He's not like a half a robot. No fucking relation to Luke.
No,
And,
he's just a guy.
He's just some guy with like a cool
Some bad scars.
Yeah, and then there's like an old dude who would be like Moff Tarkin dude, and then an emperor that they never really even address in the graphic novel, but they talk about him.
Right.
So I mean, we're talking like 4 fucking dudes. It's like struggle of the bad side, and then like even with the good guys, it was like
there's
Anakin running around.
The Whitson or Whiteson.
Yeah,
dude.
some Whitson dude who's like clearly a huge character, but doesn't really do anything until he sacrifices himself. But yeah, and it really does tap into a lot of the prequel shit, which I wondered too, like how much like Lucas tapped back into that and why the prequels didn't really work. I felt like in my like overanalyzing, I was like, all right, well this comic or before it was a comic, it was just a really early script. And then like he rewrote it. He had a lot of people saying, that's fucking dumb, trim it down, and then like, between the time that he made that and made the fucking Star Wars that we all know and love, like a lot of shit changed.
Right.
And then like maybe when he was doing the prequels, not the prequel bash as I tend to do, and everyone else,
yeah,
maybe he could have used a few more of those people saying,
oh yeah,
don't do. That's why it didn't work initially.
Right.
So that's why you should.
I think the big like in the real world, I think the big difference is like, first time around, people are like, look, George, we're trying to make some money on this thing. Yeah. You're gonna have to, and the second time around, those people, whoever they were, they know they're going to make money on it.
Yeah.
Like, there is no doubt, like it.
So everyone's just saying profitable. Yes to everything.
They're just like, that's cool, and he's got like the technology to continue fucking with it for, ever. Yeah, I mean, like up until the point he actually sends that digital file to theaters to be shown, like he's fucking around with it.
Yeah.
And I think like he's the type of guy who probably was best served by limitations.
Yeah.
By not being able to do everything and having to get a print delivered and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And once those restrictions were gone, and once you're sort of, important enough that nobody is going to tell you no.
Elvis syndrome.
Yes.
It's like, I want a monkey, a plate of potatoes, and I'm going to wear this suit. And
they were like, yes, sir.
Sure, man.
Sounds good.
How could that go wrong? But yeah, but it's weird because, like, clearly this is way dumber as far as, like, compared to what we all love and know as Star Wars. But as any Star Wars fan, I feel like you should read this, and it's just so fascinating. And it was, like, so cool just to see what morphed into these characters that we love, and like just how insignificant Han Solo is in this. I'm sure they even trimmed a lot to make a comic out of it.
It would be interesting to see just what they were working from.
Yeah, because it was just so weird and Chewie. Like they land on a planet of Wookiees eventually, and the Wookiees become the pilots that blow up the Death Star.
It's like Anakin, who is sort of analogous to Luke in this tale.
Anakin's basically Luke in this.
Nothing to do with it.
Yeah. He's like rescuing, like the rescue of Princess Leia happens while the shit's blowing up, which is kind of more like Jedi, where it's like there's all this internal Death Star shit going on while they're trying to blow it up, and and then the weirdest I thought was like that whole dynamic with the twins, it's like Leia's twin
brothers, Wendy and Biggs.
Little. They put them in these pods, which I never.
And then there's like a stress because one of the kids' pods is low on power.
Yeah, and
they got to keep like worrying about, is he gonna die in suspended animation in the pod?
Why are they even in those? Like, did I not read it carefully enough? Because they didn't think
they would be able to get them off planet just themselves, so they had to put them in pods in suspended animation to be able to kind of hide them.
That really.
It's a galaxy far away, a long time ago. It made sense.
Kind of makes sense, but it was like you're all running, so why not just carry some fucking kids?
And don't put them in giant pods. Even if you have to pick them up, it'll be easier.
It'll be like lighter than.
And you're not going to accidentally kill them.
Because there's scenes where they're like running around battling, and they're wearing a giant like metal
like
pod
huge,
with a kid in it.
it looks like a giant Tylenol.
And they don't really address it enough to know what the fuck the story. It was weird.
And then it amounts to nothing,
Yeah,
really,
they
other
really
than the
just-
two kids didn't get killed. Yeah.
and none of them get killed. None of them become Jedis.
No, yeah.
Totally worthless. But it was, I don't know. I don't know. I loved reading it, but it was definitely like why that kind of thing's important to edit, I think, and pretty cool just to see the dynamic and twist of these different characters of like who became what and who they meshed together, because there's like a Sith that ends up like helping them at the end even.
It does, yeah.
And that's weird. And everybody has lightsabers, even the stormtroopers have lightsabers, so that was weird.
From the standpoint of just as a comic book, the art's good, the storytelling is good in it, but there are like weird jumps, and it would be interesting to me to see what sort of the source material. I mean, there might have just been a break in there.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah, it's very on par with like you get an album that you love and you get the deluxe reissue and you get the demos. And you're like, what the fuck?
You're just like,
where did that
there's
song?
a good reason this wasn't released
it's a good thing you kept working on it. So if you're into deluxe reissue demos, then check out
thing
this,
for you.
It's called The Star Wars? Is
the
that why
Star
it's
Wars
like
from Dark Horse Comics, I think the first issue came out in 2013.
Damn.
So
awesome. Yeah, because there's even shit that kind of hints to Force Awakens, even, which I thought was kind of neat. Like the way, like, I thought the artwork, even like when they have them in the interrogation room, they got like Leia like in the same kind of like capture thing. She was very like similar to when Rey gets captured, and they have to go in. Even like the whole blowing up the Star Killer base in the same time while the ships are blowing it up. It was very kind of similar to a lot what's going on in Force Awakens. So who knows?
It
Maybe
all
there's still
ties together.
And even the artwork of the Stormtrooper helmets, I felt like they very like changed it up a bit, and it looked a lot like what the modified Stormtroopers looked like. So who knows? But shall we move on?
Let's do it.
All right. What did I throw your way?
Let's see. The one of the first things you threw my direction was,
speaking of early days, maybe the George Lucas in Love short film.
Yes, George Lucas in Love, 8-minute long, 8-minute-ish short film, which was really like as a student film, like really, really well done. I mean, it was great. The I mean, like the acting is good, the casting is good, and it just has like all these little. It's essentially just guy playing young George Lucas in his dorm room, trying to finish this script to graduate from film school, and his sort of like journey around campus. He meets or encounters tangentially all these sort of characters in the film, from R2D2 and C3PO to Han Solo to.
And it is humorous. In the sense
and it is humorous,
goofy, and
it's funny, and it's well done, and
that's what I didn't catch. I guess around the same year was Shakespeare in Love. Like I was like, because that's basically all Shakespeare was. It was like, and like every little thing was like a little Easter egg of like things of, like that he would reference again, and he's walking down any room, and it would be like some dude from. Like this.
Probably what his real life was like.
Yeah, totally.
He's like, there's inspiration all around.
Yeah.
I'm a genius.
One of those dorky things, because it's funny how many movies do that, and it's so corny. It's just like, that's where I got the idea of Yoda was my professor, the old man
on a bench with a weird cup bowl.
Yeah, but they like totally ham it up, and I thought that was cool.
I had never heard of it, so it was very interesting to me to sit down and watch it, and I mean it's enjoyable, maybe in large part because it's short and it has sort of a funny twist at the end.
Yeah.
So
And I thought like some of the charm of it came was still, maybe this is me again bashing on the prequels, where it came out in '99, and it was when still Star Wars was very sweet and endearing. Like there was no like hatred towards the prequels in it. You know, like when you see something like that, I remember when it came out and we stumbled across the old VHS of it. I'm like, this is fucking genius. And it was because how all of us felt like, oh, the sweetness of Star Wars, but like definitely a little of that left after like the prequels mess, you know. But like, but I don't know. I felt like it was like kind of cool that it like captured a period of time like that when you're like, it was nice to just see some little
just
goofy,
had this sort of innocent,
sweet, like all those like little nostalgia things of Star Wars, like the Ewoks past the fat dude on the campus and he's like Jabba, you know, just all these dumb little references.
Han Solo's in like his hot rod, and
he's like, you want to race or something? And, what was it, like the asthmatic flatmate kind of dude or the floor mate?
He's like, just my script is done.
It's like, stupid the stoner Obi-Wan and Yoda the professor. The Leia chick was even named Marion. That was a cool little twist because like Indiana Jones, you know, and stuff. And Fat Jabba dude. So many of them.
It's enjoyable.
It's dorky,
you can watch it
cool.
like very, very quickly, and you know, it's just like a very sort of like the people who made it clearly love Star Wars and know it and want, you know, it wasn't made with the intention of being cool or you know, snarky and, you know, commenting on how bad the prequel was. Like it was just like people who loved that and wanted to make a film and had this, you know, sort of sweet, you know, vision of how it was created.
And how fun would that be to make, you know, like we just come up with like basically Star Wars jokes and then work it into you know, it was like pretty amazing that nobody had made that even by that point, you know, because it was such a obvious and I mean, there's so many twists. We won't give away the total endings, but but that was good.
But it's good. Good. It was a chuckle.
It's like, and I loved how everyone kept referencing George Lucas's other film projects. Like, but I loved your early shit, man. TKIH,
1612.
Yeah, man. 161214 was like your best shit, man.
Like great movie titles.
So cool. Moving on from there, I guess The Force Awakens backwards. I think.
Did you actually make it through the whole thing?
I did, but I have to admit, like, I've also been working on some shows musically that I got coming up, and I got to rehearse some of my songs. So I didn't really need to hear the audio backwards. That's what I was like hinting at earlier. I was like, wow, man, because I wasn't really sure if they would do it. What it is literally Force Awakens backwards. Like,
and it's been up there a long time. Like somebody
backwards.
Somewhere is like, it's not worth taking off.
It's so weird. But so what I did is just kind of put it down, turned down the volume a bit, and played my songs while I watched it. And it was actually really fucking cool to do that too, because I felt like I was playing my music to the music backwards somehow, and it didn't match at all, but it was good. But along those notes, I was surprised of how cool the score sounded even backwards, because that's what I was a little thrown. I was like, wow, the music still sounds really good, because I wasn't sure if it would just be the film backwards, but like the dialogue would still be like just over it somehow, and it just wouldn't match up, you know. But yeah, it's all like it's literally the whole fucking thing backwards. But yeah, like my takeaways from it were just that it was fucking like a train wreck that you can't stop watching. It was like, really, you just like,
that's what happened to me. I was
so
just like sucked in, where I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, it was so weird. And like the main things, especially like starting from the end, and I jotted down, I was like, well, the best way to approach this as far as notes would just be like, what were the parts that like were most enjoyable to watch, and like initially, because it was one of the first ones, was like just amazing to watch like Rey walk down the mountain at the end.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this is so cool. She's just walking down that dangerous mountain backwards, and you know, I'd watch Rey walk in any direction up that mountain, but like walking down the mountain was amazing. And like seeing any spaceship fly backwards is pretty fucking
Yeah.
cool. But really, the lightsaber fight was the big standout.
I love it
to
when,
me.
like they start out with the clash of lightsabers,
Yeah.
then warp back up.
Because it gets easier.
Yeah.
Somehow it's just like it. Yeah, and it's weird. And then just even thinking from the filmmaker's perspective of how like that's got to even be like a editing technique where like shit looked good backwards. Even like a lot of like the like scenes of who's like in like the forceful, winning position, I guess, of like. Or just how you could work with that like Photoshop in a sense, or if you're filming people doing a lightsaber battle, like, oh, it actually looks better kind of backwards, or you could flip it, and like just seeing that it looked pretty seamless. If you were doing the editing, you could probably work some cool shit up. But yeah, it was really weird just seeing her go from like kicking ass to like running.
Scavenging.
Yeah, and like the early parts of that last scene with her and Kylo Ren of like where he's like really whooping up and she's basically just running from him, and like but then in the end she's like running backwards to him to be getting her ass kicked. But yeah, it's so weird. And then just plowing through the whole fucking movie is so weird. Just seeing it all backwards is like pretty amazing. I dug it. Yeah. Like I said,
whoever put that up there backwards, thanks.
Yeah, it's weird, but great.
Yeah.
I really get
You knew what you were doing. It
what
was
the
good.
fuck you're going for. Really,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, it's like you said, and there's just so many like weird little things that you can, like, of course, seeing Han Solo get unkilled is always nice.
That's right. Yeah.
Again, spoiler, reverse spoiler. But yeah, I don't know how much you can really talk about. I just kind of watched it and played some songs over it and enjoyed it.
I just like, I think the woman who plays Rey has some just sort of specific maybe physical quirks, like she moves and like even runs and stuff in ways that are unusual. I mean, or at least like noticeably different. And it's weird to see that backwards. Like, it's weird to see that same sort of thing. Like, it just sort of accentuates that's not, I mean, because you got John Boyega running right behind her.
Yeah.
And he's just moving like a regular person moves. Like, but she just does not quite have
She's
the
just
same sort of...
herky-jerky, I think?
Yeah,
or like,
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
she's
a
very
weird
like
sort of like,
elbowy or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially when she's running. Like, it's a very... sort of.
I kind of noticed that when she was
specific way
jumping
of
around
moving.
in the caves and stuff. There was like scenes where, it was a very like.
Yeah, and so you just notice those like small things and stuff like that, or just if you've seen it a couple of times forward, it's like having a typo in a paper.
Yeah.
Like you wrote it, what you meant to write, and you very well may read over that typo 10 times.
Yeah.
But you read through it backwards. And suddenly you see it.
Yeah.
It's just like there's little bits and pieces where you're like, I never really noticed just how fucked up Kylo Ren is at the end.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I mean,
And I definitely combed over, even backtracked and watched that twice backwards, thinking that I could find some kind of extra clue in that whole opening up the box of the lightsaber dream sequence kind of thing.
I did the same thing.
That's like the most like obvious hints of new shit to come, like, and just shit that you don't really totally catch watching Force Awakens for the 5th time, 10th time by this point, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's like I didn't really catch anything new, but it was cool to just kind of watch it through like a microscope almost.
Yeah.
It was kind of neat.
Where you just sort of shift the lens a little bit. And
Yeah.
maybe you catch something
Different
perspective.
perspective.
Yeah, because I mean, at some point you've seen it so many times, you take it for granted. So you start kind of like looking for smaller things. I mean, that's how you have.
So did you literally watch it like all the way through with, or did you have to do it in parts? And because like I had to just like play guitar while I did it or something. It's just driving me a little
I did it in, like,
crazy.
2 parts. Like I watched about half of it.
It was like the audio was just driving me
reached
too
fatigue,
crazy.
yeah.
I had to turn it down. I was like, "There's nothing I'm gonna get out of backward." It's like the sounds were kind of cool, but like the only thing I could kind of come up with was that it did kind of sound like a samurai movie where it was like, it sounded like the old like samurai movies that they. But that's kind of racist. So.
No.
So cool. Well, let's move on from there. I guess.
Okay. I've got the deleted scenes from the Blu-rays.
Yeah.
And including the what is it? The Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah, I didn't even make any notes on that. You watched the Phantom Menace, or not the Phantom Menace, but the Revenge of the Sith.
Yes,
was on a playlist.
Still bad, even in outtakes. Yeah, there's just still shit where you're just like, fuck, like none of this would have made it better, or would have made it make more sense. I mean, which is why you cut scenes out, I guess.
Yeah.
So I mean.
So you think they were all justifiably cut? That's always kind of my takeaway, was like none of this would have...
Yeah, and that's almost always like, deleted scenes are sort of interesting. And every once in a while you'll see one. Like if it was a poorly edited film, or they were just really somehow crushed for time, you'll occasionally get that scene where you're just like, well, had you just put in these 2 minutes,
right.
Whatever would have made more sense.
Yeah.
That happens, but
they
only with
were
movies that are not
elaborate
worth
enough.
anyway.
Don't you think it was kind of surprising that these haven't come up more? I was like, why did this not this should have been on the first fucking VHS release?
Oh yeah.
I was like, why?
Especially
did you
like
not
the Star Wars ones and stuff like this. It's just such basic stuff.
Yeah.
Like you don't have like there's virtually no connection whatsoever between Luke Skywalker and Wormy, like that scene, like because his friends call him Wormy, evidently, or at least some of them do.
Biggs' friends and shit.
Yeah,
when they're all at the space bar.
At the space bar, and they like the woman and the guy call him Worm, or the woman calls him Wormy, and he's like seeing this. He actually sees. Or notices in the skies above the planet the
Death Star, or is it Star
the
Destroyer?
battle between the Princess Leia's ship.
Oh shit, that's the Rogue One. Yeah, I never even made the connection. That was
he actually sees it. And he's like, oh yeah, there's a battle, and then Biggs, by the time he finds anybody to show him, he's like, it's just a ship in orbit, kid. You're not seeing anything.
Shit, that was dumb. I didn't even make that connection.
And like, there's the connection that they're like, he's just. Kind of a whiny doofus who, I'm never going to get to leave home. Kind of crap. And Luke has a little bit of that in him, but, like, none of it really serves any purpose. I mean, it was cut out for good reason. Like, you don't need to see that. You don't need to see...
It's a little weird because in the actual movie, there isn't really enough of... Like, what the fuck is Luke's deal?
Yeah.
But you don't need that much either. There was, like, a lot of hip footage of him just, like... hanging out with Biggs and be like, oh, tell me about the Academy, and they're having like space beers and they're just like walking around in the fucking.
And he's like, well, see you, kid.
I'll see you later.
It may never come back.
Yeah, he's
but
like,
darn it, I'm gonna do what I can after the Academy.
Yeah, which makes him getting blown up way like less epic.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's just like, fuck, like in the actual movie. But
like I actually like one of the things that I like, especially in comparison to the prequels about Star Wars and the Revenge of the Jedi, or Return of the Jedi, and Empire Strikes Back, because they are very sort of simple films. Like they're very basic, simple films. And they're very easily followed and easily understood. And, I fell in love with that when I was like 4 years old. So,
right.
I mean, that worked to my benefit. And and then you get to the prequels and it's just backstory. I mean, just like crap, just facts about crap that no one would care about. And doesn't make a good movie. That's why they didn't make that movie to begin with. And this is
even
a little
side note I forgot to mention of the comic of the original script was there was a lot of politics in that.
Yeah.
In the first 2 episodes.
Well, I have to wait for the war code to be approved.
the war code, and they're passing like fucking actual, NATO has to agree to.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is the prequels, man. This is why it sucks.
Like this, which it was almost comforting to me that stuff was always kind of in there. Because the prequels are so bad, I always just kind of felt like he just had like books and books of backstory that weren't actual plot.
Like he just gotten too old and
he was
boring.
Just like, let's just do this.
Sorry, but yeah.
I think there was some of that, but I just feel like the scenes they cut out, like none of them, I would say, are like where you'd be like, oh man, I wish that was
should have been in there.
There's some that are interesting. Like there's the in Return of the Jedi, there's the sandstorm scene.
Yeah,
Like
that was
you could put
cool.
that in, it would be fun and stuff. Like that's the sort of thing I would maybe consider putting in if I were George Lucas and I were reissuing it.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
opposed
why
to
not
like
adding
digitally
a
animating a
whole other
Jabba
creature.
Yeah, I mean, like, this doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah.
that is, it doesn't.
What about
give
more
you,
Lobot, man?
Oh,
Everyone could use a little bit.
everybody needs a little more Lobot in life.
I think that character was totally underdeveloped. So
We've been cheated.
even the deleted CD's just like, this is my big chance, and then they just like arrest him.
It's like, however, I am just a robot, so I'm not gonna act the shit out of
Lando
this or
kind of
anything.
peers around a corner. He's like, well, I'm not blowing my cover to save that motherfucker.
Never really liked you that much, Lobot. You're kind of an idiot.
What about the Wampas? How did you feel about the?
Oh God!
What ruined the best movie ever made with like a whole fucking ton of. I was just like, what? This was ever recorded? It was like a big chunk of shit swinging like an arm, like a woolly arm. It's like, and then they're like, let's have them attack the base. Because there wasn't enough going on during the Hoth battle.
Then that's the that's the sort of thing. Like those limitations. He clearly has always been the guy who's like, oh yeah, we should have the Wampas attack, and there should be some turkeys in the background, and there'll be a thing over here, and this shit, and the backstory, and the whatever. Like that he had limitations where like we can't do.
Yeah, the director's just like, all right, let's cut everything Wampa.
Yeah.
After Luke,
it's gonna be horrible.
Yeah, after Luke fucking kills it, let's just end the Wampas.
Yeah, and it makes it works, and it makes sense that you would make that choice, Because
then he's like eating stormtroopers, it's attacking the droids. I mean, there's like 15 Wampa scenes. It's like, and they all look like shit.
Oh, it's cool.
It's like
Wampas.
Wampas were
no, they're not
space bears.
And it works like the Wampa works in the part that they left in, where it's just a momentary threat. That is the reason that Luke is in a predicament.
Yeah.
But you don't need to investigate more, and you don't really need to revisit it. Yeah.
It's like it comes in and then like he eats the snow stormtrooper and Darth Vader's even there and he's like, oh, that was weird. They all just like everyone just like awkwardly walks away from like a like a really weird Wampa experience. Like everyone's like, whoa, what the fuck? And even like the revised scene with Luke and Leia like making out like after he gets back, and like that was like way more intimate. He's all like, it's like, I just thought if I died I'd never see you again. He's all like petting her head, and then there's like, what? Wampas are attacking the building.
Like, well, I guess we're not going to get the bone now.
Yeah, it was like Wampas stopped everything, but. But yeah, those are cool. And then I guess the other big epic one, aside from the sandstorm one, which was kind of cool, was like after Jabba and they're going their different ways and they're all totally unnecessary to put them in a sandstorm and then cut the scene.
Right.
That wasn't cool.
Yeah.
And then
where they're just like, why did we have to stand in front of that shit?
Yeah, we did that whole scene for nothing.
Fuck.
But and then there's like the commander that has like the ethical battles of like. Which is kind of weird. It made me think about Return of the Jedi more, where it was like, yeah, they were just going to, like, because he knew that the rebels were there. Mm-hmm. And Emperor's just like, blow up the fucking moon. Like, he was like, just blow it up, with the Death Star. And they did fire at, like, Admiral Akbar and shit.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, they were willing to just kill all their own dudes that were on the fucking moon. And that's why there's, like, a scene where the commander's like, what? We shouldn't fucking... like, just blow up the whole Endor because of all our people were there. And then he's just like, fire. And that's when they're about to fire. But then, like, Lando blows that shit up.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, that's a little weird. But if that was the Emperor's... I don't know, I'm kind of getting overly elaborate here. But maybe if the Emperor's plan was... Because they kind of knew they were there from the start, apparently.
Oh, yeah, he knew the whole time, yeah.
So why in the fuck didn't he just blow it up? Like, before any of that shit happened, before the attack even happened. If he was willing to just kill all his own people, he knew the rebels were all there.
Maybe because once you've blown it up, you can't hold that over Luke to drive
yeah, but maybe it's like as soon as Luke came up in the elevator, don't even like bring it up, just be like, all right, blow that shit up. Because, I mean, it seems like it was pretty much in his head.
That's true.
But I don't know. Maybe just
it's a fine game pushing somebody to the dark side, and clearly not 100%.
And it didn't work. Maybe he wasn't the best at it, so maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, he really needed to be a better dark sider.
You could do that shit to Anakin, but my boy Luke ain't gonna fall for that, man.
It's like, nah, man.
I turned myself in. You didn't
I got
even
too much Padme in me, dog. I ain't gonna fall for that.
Put my robot hand up your ass, you old man. Anyway, so yeah, you agree then? All that I felt the same thing. All the deleted scenes should have been deleted.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple where if you just wanted to stick them in there just because you did the extended cut and you like polished them up with CGI and stuff, it could be okay, but there's no point.
Yeah, and I thought it was really surreal and kind of just cool to see the scenes that we've seen so many billions of times, like with different dialogue, and like it was like, whoa, like when Han and Leia are like arguing in the Hoth thing, you know, and they're just like got like whole different dialogue. It's like, this is so weird. It's like, that's not your line.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even know what your line is.
But it's not the same.
They're like, no, and they're just dragging it out way too long. But really, you love me. No, I don't.
I don't love you.
What about that time at the coffee shop? And she's like, what the fuck?
Shut up.
Yeah, and it just goes on like way too long. But anyway, let's move on to our finales then. Let's do the pop-up book before the quiz.
Okay.
What do you think? What did you think of that pop-up?
The most elaborate. Like, this pop-up book only has 8 to 10 pages, maybe, total. But on each page, there are like fold-outs, and then those fold-outs will have fold-outs. And like everything is three-dimensional. There's one where Darth Vader pops up out of the page, and as his mask is closing and it pops out, you can see Anakin Skywalker's scarred like slug head in there. Yeah. Oh, it's awesome.
And like fucking cantinas all like got so many
you can like lift the book kind of up and look at it from ground level, sort of, and just like it's almost like you're looking through a door into the cantina. It is extremely detailed.
I know describing a podcast pop-up book is tough, so definitely go to our Facebook page and check that out, because we'll put a link there, and it's well worth the money. Hopefully you can get a good used copy at this point. It's pretty old.
It even has batteries, because one of the last pages has light-up lightsabers in it.
Yeah, they pop up and they got fucking lightsabers.
They're like, pop up, bitch.
There's very few like characters and vehicles that aren't addressed. I felt like
like it kind of hits every major point. There's that AT-AT that looks awesome in it.
Hell yeah,
it pops up.
It's so good.
Beautiful.
But I mean, with Star Wars, there's so much to work with, and it's all based on the original trilogy there, so there's no prequel
that anybody could like. I mean, some of these things literally have 40 pieces that are like moving and attached to the page and popping up and stuff. So
children will want to rip it to shit.
Just
this is a warning. Keep it away from your kids.
Don't let your 3-year-old hold it.
But once they're old enough, they will love it forever. So yeah, I don't know. There's not too much more to say on that. Do you think?
No, but it's worth seeking out. Just somehow.
It's got Darth Vader on the cover. We'll put it on the site. We don't have our notes in front of us because we had to move locations. But Reinhardt, I think, was like the author.
I think Reinhardt is right. Yes.
But
Google search for it.
Yeah, if you punch in Star Wars awesome pop-up book. I saw another one with Yoda on the cover. I don't know if that's like a different one or a reissue, but the one we're talking about has Darth Vader on the cover. So. Good shit, and finally, the ultimate Star Wars quiz.
Yes.
I was a little weary. I was like, what? Just a dumbass Star Wars quiz?
From Zimbio.com or something like that.
Yeah, and we'll put the link to that as well, and you can challenge yourself. Like, we feel like we're pretty schooled in Star Wars knowledge.
I feel like it.
There was a few moments where I started to doubt myself a little.
As did I. There were definitely times when I got the wrong answer. I was just like, no, I should know that. But I legitimately just got it wrong.
Do you remember which ones, like, where it was like a question you should have known the answer to, but
there
then,
was
like, as soon as
like
you
ones where so-and-so said, who said it?
Yeah.
You know? And it would just be like a part of the conversation that somebody else said. So Lando said that. No, Lando just said something.
There was the Lando. There was one that was like, you slimy whatever the hell.
Yeah,
it's all Lando. Yeah.
Turd ball.
And it almost sounds like what Leia says to somebody.
Yeah.
So it's like very similar. But it was funny because a lot of the quote ones, because a lot of them, the questions on the quiz were like, who said this?
Yeah.
But like, George Lucas' script writing sucks. Like, because I mean, literally, if you plug any of the characters in with that voice, they could have said it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you'd find a place to put it in. Yeah.
It really is like a testament of how bad he is at like writing dialogue, technically. But as much as I love the guy in these movies, there was a lot of funny ones like that too. Like one of the ones I like, the most notable one that I fucked up. Like as soon as I clicked, I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, it wasn't that? It was the 3PO quote of "Let the Wookiee win." Like,
that was one I got wrong. Yeah.
I thought for some reason I totally thought it was Han Solo.
Yes, that's what I thought.
He's like, yeah, let the Wookiee win. And like it totally sounded like something he would have said, but
because he
like,
says something to that effect. And then he explaining to 3PO.
Yeah, you ever seen him?
Yeah, and then 3PO says that. But I also got that one wrong.
Yeah, well, good.
So what was your score?
I got a 93.
Ooh, I got an 86.
Ooh.
Yeah, I knew you would do better. But the weird thing is, there's 100 questions.
Yeah.
I got 85 right, but I got a 96% or 86%.
Yeah.
Like I'm no genius. That's not good
questions,
math.
They got 86.
I got 85 right, 85. But it gave me an 86% grade.
Huh. Maybe one was worth like.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I was just mistaken about how many I got right, but it said 85.
Yeah, I was kind of like figuring that out too. I was like, how many? So I must just missed like 7.
Yeah,
but then I was even like trying to write down. I felt like I wrote down like I jotted down. I didn't do it while I was writing, like doing the quiz. I meant to think to do that. I was like, put more. I was like, which one was noteworthy as far as like, fuck, that was a stupid one I should have got. But most of them were prequel ones that I missed. I was like, well, I don't know. I feel bad for knowing that. There was like the long neck dipshits in the prequel that the cloning
Genosee
and it was like, what was this species of creature? I'm like,
it's just
dipshits that wasted my time watching this fucking boring conversation. And then the Naboo, not the fighter ships, but the like carrier ships or something.
Right.
And there was an obvious one. It was like the Naboo cruiser or something. I was like, that's too obvious. It can't be that one. And like something sounded vaguely familiar, and I picked the
there were
Tavian 6 or something, and it was wrong. And I was like, fuck.
And some of them you can get right just because you know the other answers are not right.
Yeah, I was like the SATs.
It's like, where you're just like, well, I mean, I don't know the answer, but
yeah, there's a lot of the planet ones for the prequels I fucked up, or I fucked up one of them, but I got a lot of them right actually based on that. Like I couldn't remember the Wookiee planet, but I could tell based on the other answers it wasn't that. And even the planet where Darth Vader or Anakin gets all chopped up and thrown in lava, Mustafar. Like I could have sworn that was something more epic and not like sounding like Mufasa. It's like there's no way that sounds like Mufasa. But I was like, this sounds like fucking the planet of Mufasa.
You're like, that's not good.
So yeah, but that was it. And the other one that pissed me off was one that I'd still would battle in court, maybe.
I'm serious about this shit.
Sure, I'm wrong, but the question was like, which was the first Jedi that became a spirit ghost or some shit?
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah, which makes total sense. He's like the most credible. When the fuck did he ever appear he didn't come back as a spirit ghost,
I think he supposedly has in like the cartoon, but I've never watched the cartoon.
Oh, you can't catch
you gotta watch the extended materials, man. But I like stumbled across that like going down the rabbit hole on the internet at some point in time.
Yeah, I missed that one because I was all like, this is a trick question.
And even that, like,
they want you to see Qui-Gon because he was like the first like credible Jedi that got killed. But then I was like, fucking Obi-Wan's the only one that came back like as a ghost in like even voice form, because there wasn't even any Qui-Gon like
he didn't like show up and be like, hey, you're fucking
Duck.
up. Yeah.
Watch out.
Some bad shit's coming your way, bro.
Watch out for that little bitch Anakin.
He sucks. His midichlorians are off the charts.
What? Ewan, don't do the sequel.
Yeah.
You're better than this.
Let someone else do it. He's going to do another one.
Yeah.
Or at least I would bet. Yeah.
I don't know. God bless him. But yeah, it was a fucking fun quiz, though.
Yeah, there was some tough ones on. Some of them were like real easy.
Yeah.
And some of them were definitely tough.
100 questions, though. That was pretty thorough. I was like, oh, God, initially, it's like I started clicking. I was like one of those surveys where you're just like, oh, Jesus, how many of these?
I'm never going to finish. But it goes fairly quick.
I felt like it started out harder, too. Like, there was like a few right off the bat. I was like, oh, fuck. Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
I was like, oh, man. I'm not,
I was like,
this
okay,
is really going to be miserable
like,
if
good,
I
it's
fuck it
100
up this
questions.
bad.
I'll get a few more of these, but... Oh, boy. So I guess that wraps us up, man.
Yeah,
How do you feel about...
Star Wars...
episode 1 of our... Because there's bound to be more episodes that talk about. So this will be our Star Wars episode.
Yes. Star Wars episode 1. No, Star Wars episode... Wait, Star Wars episode 1.
Yeah.
No,
And then we're
had it for a second.
Well, maybe we should start like at 6.
Yes.
And then do prequel.
You just love the number 6.
Ooh. I do.
But that's true.
But yeah, man. So go check those out if you're a Star Wars nerd, but not a nerd with like a capital D, you know, like
no,
a casual nerd,
cool
like
nerd.
us. Yeah, that's all we are. We're just casual nerds.
Yeah.
We're not going to the Sizzler in our Jedi War.
No, with our
and
Padawan
shit.
braids.
Come on, that's stupid.
And our
Just
pretend
take a
lightsabers.
100-question quiz and watch Force
That's
Awakens
right.
backwards.
That just makes more sense. Why would you go out to eat delicious food at Ryan's?
Yeah, when you could just stay home and look at a pop-up book all night. Oh, God, we are nerds. All right, until next time, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and find our Facebook page. And
Craig, and
I'm
you're
Gavin.
Gavin.
Man. Still Craig and Gavin, and thanks for making our pretend podcast your dark reality.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.